Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. We still have a few people joining us, so we'll give them a couple minutes here. As people are still joining, let's go over just some details for today's presentation. We will be recording today's presentation and send out a link so you can view the recording afterwards if you need to. Also, at the bottom of your Zoom window, there should be a Q&A box. If you do have questions for John or Stacy at Cal, you can type them into that Q&A box and we'll save a little bit of time at the end to go over some of those. If we happen to run out of time, I'll have your question and your email and we can reply privately to you at that point also. Today's session is all about looking at Acumatica in light of all the announcements with the end-of-life GP. Lots of people are exploring options, and who better than to show us those options than our own in-house GP expert, John DeLeo. I will hand it over to you. Thanks.
Great, thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. We're going to go through a little bit about GP's end of life just to make sure everyone's up to date on what you need to know and how that might impact you and your planning. And then we're going to jump into Acumatica and really kind of focus on what we like about Acumatica, what we think is really special about how it is as a solution, and how it could potentially be a good solution, to replace GP in your future at some point. It's not changing. There we go. All right. So GP's end of life. So the most recent update prior to this release, GP was with Microsoft was always 2028 and beyond. So now they've clarified today what 2028 and beyond means. So for anybody that's on the modern life cycle, which is after GP 2018 R2, you would then be in this modern life cycle where each year there's a release, and each year that release will contain updates. So this year we just had it released. Next year and beyond, always through 2028, we'll continue to get updates, minor feature functionality changes, regulatory updates, tax updates for anybody that's running payroll, 1099s, if any other, other types of regulatory updates required, fixed assets, whatever the case might be, those will all be included all the way through the end of 2028. The significant year is 2029. So they basically slated September 30th, 2029 will be the end of those updates. So you won't have year-end updates in 2029. So for anybody that is relying on those regulatory updates, you really need to focus on 2028 as kind of that target date where you'll no longer receive those after that. So you will receive a year-end update for 2028, and then you'd have those through the first couple of quarters of 2029. And then after 2029, we won't be getting any more of the mainstream technical support updates. We'll have just no more enhancements to the product, no more regulatory updates. Really, they're just looking for anything that would be a security related update that Microsoft might need to address. And those will be released as they go between 2029 and 2031. So April 30th, 2031 is what Microsoft is saying. They're no longer going to, that's what they say right now. They're no longer going to be supporting GP at that point in time. Now, what that means to you as far as GP is concerned, you can continue to run GP. Obviously, all of our clients are perpetual license, so you own the software. As long as you continue to pay Microsoft your annual enhancements, then you're going to be entitled to all those updates. You can continue to add new users if you needed to. All those things don't change. That would be true through 2029, always up to 2031 still, except that you're no longer going to have those year-end, all those updates between 2029 and 2031. And there is a link in the slide deck, which is a link to our website, which kind of goes over this in a little more detail. So Acumatica, what do we like about it? So Acumatica has been born this century. It's the only ERP that was really been really born this century that is of its capabilities. And the people that founded Acumatica were all from other ERP solutions, from Microsoft and other solutions. And they basically came together and said, we want to create a new solution that is cloud solution where we've learned from all of our past, challenges with other ERPs, trying to make one ERP that really is designed for their small to medium-sized businesses. That's really their target market. They only sell through the channel of partners like ourselves. They don't sell direct. They're focused on working through partners that are specialized in different areas. So that way we know the industries that you're in, and we're able to apply our knowledge to Acumatica to get you up and running as quickly as possible. Acumatica was born in the cloud, and they are based in Bellevue, Washington. So they're a US-based company. They have offices throughout the United States and some around the world, Canada as well. Acumatica is focused on building the future of business together. They're really trying to work with partners, customers, independent software vendors, those add-ons. They're really working with all of us to try and make the solution a more complete, better solution. That's really what they do. They're every release, so they have 2 releases every year. They're trying to make Acumatica better. So I always equate this back to when Great Plains was not owned by Microsoft. Great Plains was only focused on one thing, making their software better, right? They're not focused on any other industries. So everybody is hyper-focused on one thing, making their software better as a solution. In our Cal Business Solutions, ourselves, we implemented Acumatica in 2018. So we migrated our GP, which we had been running for over 20 years. We had 5 other systems that were tied to our GP. And then we brought all of those into Acumatica. So now we only use Acumatica. It's a single source of our truth. So from case management to our financial report writing, projects, everything that we do is all tied in. It's all part of Acumatica. We're not relying on any outside systems or integrations to other outside platforms to be able to run our business any longer, which is really a benefit for us. And that's where we really like the solution. So some of the things that I really like about the solution, some of the things I'll highlight here. So it is a true cloud solution. What does that mean? What's included in that subscription is a subscription model. So you're not buying hardware anymore to run the software. So all the hardware is included. Obviously, the software is included. Your upgrades are included. So depending on what you choose for your upgrade options, you're either getting an upgrade once a year or twice a year, but that's all included. No cost to you at all. You're not having to pay for services of Cal to basically do all that heavy lifting of applying those upgrades. It's going to happen. Now, the important part is with Acumatica, we're not significantly relying on other ISV solutions, add-ons, integrations to other solutions to be able to make a complete solution for your company. So when we have all those different things, moving parts, then the upgrade becomes more difficult because obviously you got to do an upgrade, you got to test everything, make sure everything's working. When Acumatica is in place, they've already gone through that cycle of all that testing. And so you're still able to do a test upgrade, and that's also included. So we basically request that sandbox, and you're able to then do all of your testing, look at new features, because there's always going to be new features, not just minor functionality, in some cases very major functionality that they're adding to the solution on a regular basis. So that's all included. On top of that, you do have mobile application that's also included with that. You have direct email support for 2 key individuals at your company. So you can email Acumatica support directly and be interactive. That's included with the subscription. And then you have some other things. Acumatica's Open University. So fully free to anybody that wants to learn Acumatica. You just sign up and you're able to go in there, take courses, learn about the product, learn about the modules, feature functionality. Again, all included, all free. It's actually free to anyone, whether or not you are subscribed to Acumatica or not, you have that available to you. The same thing is true of Acumatica's community. So when we talk about those upgrades and all the new features that are coming, a good percentage of those feature functionality that's being added to the solution every 6 months comes from submissions through the Acumatica community. So community members, Cal's a member, all of our users are members, all of our customers are members, right? And then you can basically, you see an idea that somebody submits and you can upvote that idea. The more those ideas are upvoted, the more you're going to get feedback as to from Acumatica to say, okay, is this shortlisted? Is it pending review? But ultimately, you're also going to see when that idea that you upvoted gets delivered in a version, you're going to get an email saying, oh, that one that you liked, that feature that you wanted, it's now going to be available in this version when this release is available. So again, all that's included in your subscription. The Acumatica community and the Open University are available to anybody. There's no cost. Anybody can sign up whether or not using Acumatica or not. Other things that we liked about Acumatica when we were really looking at it are the deployment options. So Acumatica, you can be hosted with Acumatica. Again, you get your hardware, your software upgrades all included, and you're hosted with them, everything all in one. Now, for some companies, they, for whatever regulatory or government contracts, such, they might need a private cloud, or they have certain requirements. So that's also an option. And then there's also the option to still run it on your own servers on premise. And the point with that is, when you're running it on premise, you're really not seeing a reduction in functionality. There are other ERPs out there that once you put it on premise, you lose a lot of their embedded functionality because they no longer in their ecosystem. So important to know that. Access to your data. So, you think about it, okay, it's now hosted, right? If I'm on premise, I still always have access to my data. But if I'm hosted somewhere, can I get to my data? How can I get to my data? So Acumatica has a bunch of options for you. So first thing they do is they offer snapshots. So you can run a snapshot at any point in time, which basically is not just your data, it's your entire Acumatica, including all the configuration that you've done, all the user setup, security, everything that's in that. It's a complete copy, a complete snapshot of everything that you're then able to download in a zip file, and you have a complete copy. So we have some clients that are able to then take that and they put it on a laptop and they upload, restore that snapshot to that laptop, and they've got a full copy of everything that they've ever had, right? So it's made to make sure that you have access to your data. You're not going to lose access to your data. You're not going to be begging Acumatica, please use my data. I'd like a copy of it. In addition to that, they also do offer, for some companies that want to choose to have it, regular SQL update backups being created for you that you could also use to restore to local instances and whatnot. So again, those are things that are optional, but it makes it a big difference because not everybody has that for you. So having access to your data is important. Mobile app is included. They have an iOS and Android device capabilities. And then again, that's all included with the subscription. So no additional cost. You're not having to pay, obviously just have the device. So you get your device and now you're able to run that application. Includes an import-export suite. So any data that you're getting from almost any solution out there, you can then take that data and import it directly into Acumatica. It's very configurable. So you're able to configure those import scenarios. So any screen inside of Acumatica, whether it be transactions, master records, whatever the case might be, you can take that Excel file or XML or whatever type of data point you're getting, and you can actually import that directly into Acumatica. It's all included. There's nothing additional for that. You're not having to go and buy Smart Connect or something like that. It's already included in the product. One of the things that we really like about Acumatica is ease of use. Many people tell us how intuitive it is when users trying to learn it. Hopefully you'll be able to see some of that today when I start getting into the product. But as far as learning it quickly, searching, filtering, sorting, finding what you're looking for, being able to understand what I need to click where everything is. I'm not searching for buttons that are hidden somewhere. It's really right there presented in front of you. And then the user has the option to make the things that they use most often even more accessible. Reporting. Obviously, GP, we've been, some people say GP reporting is difficult. It really is a question of you have access to the data, you have SQL reporting services when that came out. And so you have the capability of building almost any report on GP's data. The problem is it takes some technical capabilities, right? So we've got a lot of customers with GP that have bought SmartList Builder. When you had SmartList Builder now, again, a little bit of technical capabilities, but really you can build any query on that data, right? So with Acumatica, it's got a report designer that's a modern report designer, not way better than GP's report writer. And then we have something called generic inquiries, which would be the equivalent of like SmartList Builder, except that it's way better than SmartList Builder because it presents itself throughout the entire system. So you can basically make visibility to the data that's important to you, however you want it, as quickly as possible. Again, you don't need to pay us or developers to do it. It's all just part of the solution. Dashboards built in. You can build as many dashboards as you want. It's got a whole slew of dashboards that are come out of the box as well. You can do pivot tables inside the solution. And then they have something called side panels. Side panels, I'll show you once I get into the application, but I think it really just extends the ease of use functionality for the users because they don't necessarily need to navigate to another screen. You just basically go to the side panel and you can see all the related information that you want without having to go navigate somewhere else. So it just makes it that much quicker for the user. So all flexible, customizable. Another feature, active activities. Throughout the entire application, when you're on transactions or master records, I'm on a vendor invoice, and I need to have some communications with maybe an internal person or the vendor themselves, I can basically do those activities. I can create emails through the application, which are then tracked in the application. I can assign tasks to another user. Hey, Mary, can you follow up with this vendor and see what's going on with this invoice? It doesn't look right. And all of that is available. Create events. You can create notes of just trying to, hey, I did speak to the vendor and this is what they said. And so you can now have all of that, and everybody has visibility to all of that as long as you give them security to see it. Drag and drop file attachments. Again, throughout the application, you want to be able to have some backup files, some information, whatever the case might be. You just drag that into the system. It's going to upload that file for you, and now it's available for all the users. Acumatica is continually working on what they call a low-code, no-code framework. So they keep making it ease of use for the users to be able to configure the environment the way they want it to be. So without having to get developers involved, and we do a lot of things with our clients to be able to, hey, I want this field to be appearing on this screen over here, and I want, I don't need to see that field. All that is, there's no developers involved, right? It's just configuration, and they're making that even easier in the new versions that are coming out next year. So just again, they're not trying to have to hire developers every time you need something. Really, a lot of our customers, as they go onto Acumatica, once they learn it, they start absorbing it, they see how it works, they start building these on their own. They might come back to us for some help on some aspects that they don't know where necessarily all the data lives. But again, that's, once you point them in that direction, they can go and build out those generic inquiries, include the information they want, and give that basically custom reporting to the users, whatever they need. On top of that, Acumatica has a summit every year, end of January. I've equated to what Microsoft used to do with convergence. And so it really is just focused on, in this case, it's just Acumatica. It's solely Acumatica, and there will be ISVs that are there. So, for other solutions that Acumatica may not have inside the box, you do have the option to also have ISVs that can enhance the product. And those are some of the ones that we're familiar with, that have been in the GP space for a long time, and now have gone over to Acumatica and are supporting Acumatica as well. Rockton is one of the ones that has a product for Acumatica. Cavallo SalesPad has a product for Acumatica, or they're working on one. Again, it's not going to be the same products that they had with GP, because Acumatica doesn't need all those products, because again, a lot of things are included in the product already. There's user groups that are available, so you're always able to join user groups, get more information, talk to other users. The same thing happens while you're at Summit. You're able to really talk to other users and understand how they might do things, how they approach something, if you have a question, in addition to all those sessions that they put on. Acumatica puts out their own YouTube channel, which really they cover in small snippets a lot of the new features that they're adding throughout the year. And then free trial version again. So you can download Acumatica software today, as long as you have SQL or MySQL installed on that computer. You can install it on that SQL instance. It probably takes a total of about 5 to 10 minutes. And then if you are hosted with Acumatica, you could actually download that snapshot and upload it to that free 2-user version, and you'd be off and running, seeing everything you had. So it really, again, it's just a different solution. That's part of the reason we really like it, is because they're not holding you hostage on your data. You have full access to it all the time. Other things to think about, Acumatica says no ISVs needed, right? So some of the things we love about GP, and it's been a great product for us for 30 plus years, is what it has in the solution, right? It's a stable, solid solution for most of our clients. But when you run into certain scenarios, you need to go out and get an ISV. So if you don't want to have to log into a different GP company every time, because GP allows you to have as many companies as you want, right? Well, your users are constantly logging in, logging out, and it's reloading everything based on the security and so forth, and it takes some time. And so with Acumatica, it's multi-company, multi-branch within the same, what they call tenant. So you basically it basically is the equivalent of binary strings multi-entity management for GP, except it's already included in the solution. So you don't need to add binary strings multi-entity management. Again, CRM, there is no CRM for GP, right? You have to add a CRM solution. GP doesn't have case management. It doesn't have a customer portal. Those are all ISV solutions that we'd have to add to GP to get somebody to have that integrated between GP and a CRM. Acumatica has a fully integrated CRM. Again, if you need it, you license that. We're not doing any installs. It literally is just license key update, and now that module is now available, and that's true of all the modules because the platform is built. So when we come to GP, if you wanted to add a certain module, we'd have to run an install and update every workstation because it's creating all those tables. In Acumatica's case, it's just surfacing that module forward. It's already there behind the scenes. You just don't have access to it because you don't need it. Credit card processing, Acumatica has their own credit card processing now, so it works with sales orders and throughout the system, so you're able to basically process credit cards directly through the application. It's also got the ability to send out click to pay, so if you want your customer to be able to click on QR code and open that up and be able to just pay that bill online, they can do that. And it does have a portal as well that they could pay online, open invoices for, and all that's going to flow directly right back into Acumatica. Again, part of the solution. I'm not having to go out and get an ISV for credit card processing any longer. Workflow automations. Again, we have to go out, get some solutions that GP has in the later releases, some workflow, and some minor automations, but not a lot of automations. Acumatica, you can build out workflow, and it has a full suite of business events to be able to do automations wherever you need them done. Projects, GP had project accounting. Very few of our customers felt that functionality really worked for them, and we would end up adding a project like project cost. Acumatica's got a project costing already. Just again, do you need it? Payroll. GP has payroll. We didn't have to go out and get that, but Acumatica has payroll as well for US and Canada, and that's something that you won't find in many of the other ERPs that are out there. AP document recognition, we would always have to go out and get a new ISV for GP to basically be able to take and receive those electronic invoices, have it read it, basically create a payables transaction for you. Acumatica, again, it's built into the product. We're not trying to have to go out and get an ISV. A warehouse management solution, WMS, again, they have one. It's already built in. Do you need it? Integrated shipping solutions, definitely the ability to interface with FedEx, UPS, print those labels directly out of Acumatica. Again, there are ISV shipping solutions that are more advanced than Acumatica's, but again, the base solution, you can get a lot of functionality. The same thing is true of WMS. If you have 1 million square feet, Acumatica's WMS is probably a little light for you, and then you're going to want to go to one of the better, more robust solutions. But again, it works either way, and those ISVs are out there. But again, in the box, we have a lot of functionality. Most customers don't need to go out and get 2, 3, 4 ISVs like many of our GP clients have. They don't need it. Bank feeds, automatic, you can connect to your bank account, download the transactions, pull them in, try and analyze those transactions, and be able to match them through your banking. Expense management solution, again, that's something that people can be on their mobile device, take a picture of a receipt, upload it. It's going to flow right in, create their expense reports. All that, again, can be part of the solution without having to add another solution and trying to integrate it. Some of the times those integrations, some other solutions at GP can be quite expensive to build, right? So that's why Acumatica really tries to put as much into the solution without having to do that. It has dual factor authentication as part of the solution, and single sign-on is available should you need it. It has full manufacturing along with a configurator. So if you're really build to order based on rules, the configurator can definitely handle that and create right through manufacturing all the way through. Field service, full field service, along with a mobile app for all the texts, so scheduling those appointments, sending them out, all of that part of the solution again. If you're e-commerce, so it has built-in integrations for Shopify, BigCommerce, and Amazon. So again, the ability to just basically fill in the information, connect to that site, and then start having it transact. And you're not having to build an integration or try and customize one. It's going to work out of the box. And then one of the things that I find is hugely beneficial in Acumatica, when you combine that with its flexibility, is unlimited user-defined fields. Basically, you define what your user-defined fields are, your attributes or user-defined in the case of Acumatica, and you'll see those in a little bit. And you're able to add those to, transactions and master records and things of that nature to track more information that is really tailored towards what's important for your company, right? Without having to go and add an ISV like Extender or Alaska Windows or many of those solutions that are out there to add that functionality to go beyond what the one or two different user-defined fields GP has in a lot of cases. So in addition to that, embedded integrations. So that means that basically Acumatica has, basically we just fill in the connection information, and now you're able to integrate with, so that's where BigCommerce, Shopify, and Amazon, again, we just fill in that connection information, and it's going to connect to those solutions. So you can see there's a lot of different ones out here. Power BI, Acumatica was one of the first ones to integrate with Power BI. So if you want to send data to Power BI, or you want to show Power BI, dashboards inside of Acumatica, not a problem. It's just plug in the information and you're off and running. So you see a lot of different embedded solutions. Sales tax is a popular one. Again, you're just filling in the information, and you don't have to do any installations into Acumatica. It's already there. You just basically turn them on and say, okay, here's my Avalara account information, connect, and now you're off and running. Same, many of these different ones. So with that, Acumatica GP. Here's a link just basically at the end here, which is links to the Open University and the community. And so I really would recommend that you kind of check those out. Again, a lot of information out there for it. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you into Acumatica. So when I log in, the first thing I am logged in is the admin user, upper right corner. And then here is a tree, which basically is where, so I have three different companies. I have a capital company, the products company, and the services company. And then products and services have two different branches or divisions. And so you're actually transacting. So right now my user is defaulting that I'm in the product wholesale division of products company. And so when I'm doing any transactions, it's going to be able to record those to this branch / company. And if I switch between them, then it's as simple as that. It's going to reload based on my security for that particular company. And I'm now working in that company again. And the Acumatica has the ability to change the color schema across the applications, so that we can easily know which company you're working in. If you have lots of different companies, it just makes it that much easier, right? We also change the logo over here to reflect the logo of that company. So just makes it really easy. Again, consolidated reporting becomes super easy because it's all within this one tenant here. And we've got 3 companies and 4 branches, but there's no limit to the number that you can have in here. So when I log in, it's going to take me to whatever I've defined as a homepage. And I've created a homepage here, so I'm basically operating as an AP clerk. And so I've got all these different widgets and jump tos. So this would allow me to enter a new AP invoice or enter a bill, right? Or enter cash purchases, prepare a check run. I also got all these widgets across here, which are basically the equivalent of dashboards, right? That basically show me information that I need to do, right? Telling me what do I need to act upon when I'm doing my job on a daily basis. So from here, I should be able to really do almost everything that includes my job. So what do I need to know, right? So I need to know that there's a document on hold. Okay, need to go look at that. Click on all these are actionable tiles. And it's going to take you to that underlying information. So there's a bill on hold here, and that's the same as if it's saved in a batch in GP. And now I need to post that batch, right? So it's still on hold. I can just hyperlink to that, open it up, review it. And again, this is where if there was something that I need, now you can see here's an activity. So there's an activity which says, check in with the vendor. Who is responsible to check with the vendor? Okay, well, that's me, Maxwell Baker. I'm responsible to check with the vendor. So again, I'm working on this. I know so I'm not going to necessarily post this yet, because then I might check with Maxwell Baker and say, hey, what's going on with this, right? And of course, you do have notes. So full note capabilities, whether it's at the document level, at the line level. So you have lots of noting capabilities throughout. Almost every transactional activity, you're going to see this kind of same look and feel, where you got the header information across the top, you've got document level notes, you've got your activities, and then you've got your line details. So when we're looking at our line details, you can also get into a lot of other feature functions. So here's the files, right? So this is where I would see files that are attached. But when it comes to adding files to Acumatica, it's just as simple as grabbing a file and pulling it up here again, drag and drop. It's actually uploading that now as an attached file on here if I want to see what that file is. And if I open it, it's going to open up that PowerPoint presentation I just showed you a little while ago. Yeah, again, I can put comments on here. So GP, I'm going to save that. Now I have some comments in here. I'm going to go ahead and copy that. That way I can show you the next thing about searching and navigating in the Acumatica. So again, we have all these different widgets, AP aging here. So if I want to focus on a certain part of the aging, I could. As I'm scrolling down, I've got some trend lines. I've got who do I owe money to. And then if I keep going down, here I have my open tasks. And again, if I want to see those open tasks or top 10 overdue balances, I can click on this. It's going to take me directly to Westerly Goods, Foods. But if I click on this one, it's going to take me to my overdue balances. Again, if I'm operating from this and somebody assigns me a task, I can get an email notification from Acumatica letting me know that I have a task. And that task is now sitting out here. I could also turn on pop-ups if I want pop-up notes, pop-ups for these activities with reminders. Again, that's optional. So you definitely see everything that you need to touch along this main dashboard here. And again, that's really the idea behind it. So when I'm looking across the top, there's a search bar here. This search bar searches everything. So let me just type in webinar. I'm not going to find any menu options for webinar. I do find a bill that's on hold that says webinar because I put that on it, right? That's that AP bill we're just looking at. Not going to find any help topics, okay? But here's where it's actually finding that file. So again, it's searching through everything. So if I were to go here and say vendor, right? And I go to menu items, everything that has vendor in it. And as I start typing, it starts filtering for the menu options that I see. And this is across all the different workspaces that I have security access to. So you can see here, I got, it's finding those first three letters in price, and it's finding vendor price worksheets, vendor prices, all of that. If I go over here to transaction files again, there's a generic inquiry that's for vendor price worksheets. I go to help topics, we're going to find quite a few things where it's going to basically give you a lot of information about that. And then again, if I have anything over here, there's some vendor price worksheets in there as well. So again, it's searching across the entire system. So if I only knew a phone number, I can find the related vendor, customer, whatever the case might be. If all I have is an invoice number, right, I can find that invoice number. So I go over to my reference here. There was that invoice number. And if I go over here, print this and put this in here like I did before, you'll see where they're finding that actual. So whatever I know about the transaction or somebody's making an inquiry, I can get to that just through that global search. In addition to the global search, last touched. So this is my most recent activity. So you can see, so if I was working with the vendor and then they call me back and say, oh, you know what? That's right. You were right. You got to take a $10 discount, or maybe the terms was wrong. Again, you can update the transaction, go up to these activities, complete this activity, right? Terms has been fixed, complete it. Again, it becomes historical at this point. We've got that activity. I say, okay, that looks good. We've now got 30 days, remove the hold. And I can release it, and now it's the equivalent of posting it. And going back to the navigation, again, we went here. So now we're going to get into favorites. So GP has favorites. Most people don't use them. The ease of use, though, at Acumatica's favorites is if there's something that I touch often, I can actually, and it's not on, let's say, my dashboard. Maybe I go to journal transactions often, so I'm going to put a star on that. Now I go back to favorites, it's going to be on my list. So that way I've got journal transactions here. And if I want to just create a new journal entry, I can just hit the plus sign and jump in. So again, trying to get that ease of use, make it quick for the users to find what they're looking for and be able to act upon it without having to, navigate a menu tree. Certainly, you're available to. You can still go through the workspaces and navigate that menu tree. And when you're looking at these, you'll see some tiles across the top here. These come out of the box, but you can create as many as you want. So for quick entry purposes, you can create these little tiles up here that just, again, speeds things up. So how many times does somebody need to click? Well, you've just eliminated 1 or 2 clicks if you can put a tile up there that gets them to where they need to go. In each of the menu options or workspaces, you have this show all, where basically it shows you a short list, and then you have a full list. So very extensive throughout. You do have the ability to control which ones appear on that show less and show more. So you really, you can tailor it to what makes sense for your company. So again, favorites. And so when we're looking at favorites, some of the things I like to show around the flow, so you can kind of get an idea of what the system looks like. And I'm just going to open it in a new tab. So again, something you can't do in GP is, and many of the, even some of the other solutions that are out there, the ability to easily have multiple records, same type of record open at the same time. So in this case, I can go navigate to another bill and have that open, review it without having to jump around. So again, these flows are actionable as well. So these come out of the box. And so, if I need to do a cash transaction, I could go ahead and click on that. Again, if I want to do bills and invoices, I click on that, it's going to take me to that screen. So again, for new users, this becomes a really easy way for them to kind of navigate as another way, putting kind of all the related things together. So, fixed assets, if I'm using the fixed asset module, again, definitely something you just jump to it and it's going to take you there. So I'm going to click this the home button at the top here. That's going to take me back to my home page. And maybe I want to go look at some vendors now. So I'm going to say, okay, payables, vendors. Now this is where the searching of records, finding records comes into play. So in addition to being able to just drag and drop the columns around, or take and add columns or take columns away. So I want to see who created this and when, right? Or who last modified it, or are they a tax agency? Again, similar to Smart List, except again, the entire system is built this way. So this is how you're navigating, this is how you're finding things. So again, I can take these and drag them around. If I want to see everybody that's a tax agency, I can go here and say it equals true, and it's going to automatically filter for it, drag that filter off. So really like the way that they make it easy for you to find what you're looking for. So in case if I'm just looking for every company that's in New York, I can highlight that and do a Shift F as a quick filter, and now I'm going to see all the vendors that are in New York. So I've got 33 vendors in New York. You can see the count here. Again, this is basically what we call a generic inquiry. So again, it's kind of like Smart List Builder or Smart List, except that you're really using it to drive the entire system. So everywhere you see one of this type of grids, you have all the same functionality to be able to search, filter. There's a global search over here. And as I start typing, it's going to start filtering wherever it finds the characters that I've searched based on the columns that we've told it to search. So you can configure which columns you want it to search, and it's going to go ahead and find those. In addition, if I wanted to create a simple pivot anywhere within the application, we go here, save as a pivot. If I want to see by class, I don't have to export it out to Excel to get a pivot. I can just go and say create a pivot on this GI, vendor class, and I'll just use the vendor ID as a count, just so I have an idea of how many there are. It's that simple. I can now see my vendors by class. I want to see who the intercompany vendor is. I click on this, and it's going to take me immediately to that drill down for that one record. Again, you have the options to create filters. So if there was a certain, I'm very focused on a certain line of product vendors, and I want that product vendor to be visible to me as my user, I can create a filter. and make it a save filter. Again, kind of like a smart list favorite, except that it's right on the main screen. So, because I'm really focused on, so I'm going to save this. And if I have security access, I could share it so that way everybody can see it. And I could make it my default. If I don't have access to share it, then it's just going to be for me alone. And I have the ability to save that. And again, now when I come into this list, that's always going to be a saved filter that's available for products. So I'll go to products, so that made it the default. Here's my pivot. And again, go back to all records. So lots of functionality within each of these grids. In addition to that, this is where I mentioned earlier about something called side panels. Side panels are basically ways for you to show related information without having to navigate away from the records themselves, right? I don't have to drill into something. This is a side panel over here on the right. So vendor summary. I click that and it's basically a dashboard associated to this given vendor, right? So A services, see $125 credit due, right? I can see their payment history, their bills and adjustments, anything here. If I go to the next vendor, it automatically changes all that information as how it applies to that given vendor. You can have as many side panels as you want, and you can basically create any data related data really easy. Again, you're not having to do a whole lot of work. It's definitely not developer work. It's just a matter of you creating what you want to see and linking it to these screens. So in addition to that, side panels, you open up the vendor record itself. And if you want those same related side panels added to the screen itself, doable as well, right? So again, you have the ability to open those up, same visibility. Again, what's important, again, all these are still actionable. I can click on them. So if I click on that, it's going to take me directly to that. So I can see that particular record. It's and it's $125, right? So I can see all of that without having to go and search and go and find. So like I want to run an AP aging for this vendor. Again, it's right here available to run. All the reports live inside of Acumatica. All these reports are, again, this is a very modern report designer, so I can zoom in on that. You see that they're hyperlinks. So if I want to drill to this, it's not a non-editable or not usable report, right? It really is actionable, again, that I can run this and click on that and actually take me back to that invoice, that bill adjustment that's sitting out there waiting. In addition, they have the ability to export to Excel. Again, it does export to Excel. There's a separate definition that you can put into the report. So while it may present this way and when it's printed in PDF form, if you export it to Excel, it could go out to Excel in a very columnar format and make it very usable. Because in the report designer, you actually have the ability to define both ways that the report would generate. Sending, you have the ability to email throughout the application. So if I want to email this to myself, I could. I could put in an email template here if I so choose, give it a subject line, but it's going to be an attached file on that email. So you, again, have full capabilities of emailing through the system. And obviously simple printing. Now, if you are wanting to have reports delivered to you on a regular basis, maybe I want to see the AP aging every Friday night or every Monday morning. That's where you could set up templates. And those templates would then be able to say, okay, am I sending it for a particular branch or not? Or do I want to see all the companies, the vendor class? And then basically I'm able to schedule this, define a schedule for it here with the schedule template. And then I can actually put, when do I want it to run? The system's automatically going to run it for you and email it to whomever you want it to get. Right, so you're able to set that up within the system. It's going to do it for you automatically. So you're not having to run the reports or, again, it would be similar to SSRS when you're scheduling reports to come out. Again, it's built into the application. I don't have to go to an outside application like SSRS to do that. I'm doing it right from within the application. All right, so quite a bit on navigation, moving around, finding things. Right, I think it's pretty easy to find what I'm looking for, but now I want to get into an actual transaction. So jump into a transaction. I'm going to take this one at webinar. So almost everywhere throughout the application, you have the ability to copy and paste. So if you had a similar invoice from last month, then you could definitely, you can also do recurring, but in this case, I'm just going to copy this one, save on typing, paste it. This is a pop-up note coming from the vendor. You have pop-up notes on items, vendors, customers. Basically, you define that as a pop-up note, and now it's going to present anytime you do anything with that particular vendor, or in this case. And here it's just a little warning message about the pop-up note. I'll put my new invoice number. So a big difference between GP and Acumatica is the way that the distributions work. Right, so we know that the offset to this distribution is going to be accounts payable. The system's going to control that automatically based on the system setup, but the details, right? I want to have visibility easily, so I could add manual details here. Maybe it has an item. If I use an item number, then it's going to help it make it a little quicker for entry purposes, because then I can have that distribution account automatically get entered. But if I just need to just say, okay, it's going to be $150. I don't need quantities. I don't need unit costs necessarily. Obviously, I have project turned on. So if it was attributable to a project, I can assign it to a project. In this case, I'm going to put an X for no project. Again, if you did not have projects turned on, you wouldn't have all that showing up. And then I can change my GL account over here to be what I need it to be. So that's one way of obviously doing entry. I think when you get into more lines and you want to be able to get them in here quickly, you have upload from Excel. So that little, anywhere you see this little up arrow is basically looking for an Excel upload file. And so I could have this already, I have this sort of pre-populated basically. I'm just matching the column heading names with the columns that are on the screen here. So that's what it's doing here. It's showing me the ones that I have names for, so I don't have a column for PO number. I do have a column, I don't have a column for description. So again, it's pulling in the accounts that I have in my spreadsheet. And you can map those, so if they were a different name, you just map it. And now you're able to Excel upload all the lines that I just added to this without having to key them all in manually. So again, that's one way that Acumatica makes it easier, because you'll see this on many transaction screens. We're able to just do Excel uploads and populate that. And if I found that there was an issue with this, I could export this back out to Excel, because almost everywhere that you see any grid, you're going to see an Excel export. So I could make those changes in Excel if there were lots of lines, and then re-upload it. And when I re-upload it, instead of saying, you have a couple options in here. And what we want to do is say, okay, update existing, bypass existing, or insert all. So if I say update existing, any changes I made would now get populated on those lines that are in here. So again, pretty slick, easy to use. Other options for Acumatica when it comes to getting transactions into the system. I had mentioned a while ago that we have a full import suite. So if I go back to my flows, one of the things in financial flows was called external systems. And we got batch import export. It's going to take me to my import scenario screens. And this is one that's set up for AP bills. And this basically is it's using an Excel file. So the same way I was dragging that drag and drop, if I drag a new Excel file up here, it's going to get recorded over here. And then I would hit prepare. It's going to go and read all the records and let me know if there are any issues. No issues. I'm not going to import all these for speed's sake, so I can just check off a few of these. And again, if I had multiple lines for one invoice, they would get grouped on the same transaction. So it's just a matter of using that key invoice number and vendor ID to have it group those and make those all separate lines on different invoices. So again, this is import scenarios are available to import to any screen in the system. So anything that you have, easily able to import those. If I go back to my home page, Okay, that was looking for on hold, and I have a bunch of balanced. So these are sitting in balanced, which means that they are in balance, meaning there's no issue with them, so I can release them. So when we're talking about releasing them, I don't want to have to click into all these, right? So you don't necessarily need to. The import scenario could have released them for us if we wanted it to without a review process. Again, there is full approvals maps. So if any type of transaction that you have, you could have approval maps where that transaction needs to go and gets evaluated and approved, and those approvals can be sent out via text message or whatever the case might be. Or on the mobile app, they could be approved there as well. So again, lots of functionality there. If I go back to payables, I have process screens. So process screens are basically mass processing, right? So here I've got the release, so I can release all if I wanted to. And in addition to being able to click this button, I could also just add a schedule here. So any process screen inside of Acumatica, you can add an automation schedule to have the system do it automatically, and you can tell it based on certain criteria. So maybe I only wanted to release invoices for a certain vendor class, or anything of the sort. You basically define what those conditions are, those rules are, of which ones you want it to release and how often you want it to run, and the system's going to do it automatically for you. Okay, just out of the box functionality. All that is releasing. We talked about the mobile app earlier. Go ahead and open that up. So when I log into the mobile app, you're going to see basically all these different workspaces, kind of similar as what we're looking at before, right? So purchase order, if I look at a purchase order, it's going to take me up. It's asking me to sign back in. Been too long. So this is running on an emulator, so it's not quite as quick as it normally would be on a regular app. But again, if it was an Android device, whatever the case might be, it's going to give you that full availability. So you can see these are the things I most recently touched. The AP bill, it's the one I just released, right? So I can drill into that bill, see it. Again, if this had approvals, I could be approving it through here while I'm on the road. So some of the things that, again, expense claims, expense receipts, I could be processing an expense receipt here and go ahead and toggle that up. And here's one that I had processed before from Bradley Airport parking, right? When I actually take a picture of the image of it, it's going to actually, this is a pretty bad looking receipt, but it took it and it was still able to find the name and the amount and upload that and create it as a receipt. So then if I had a project, I could have coded it to a project again. So that's some of the functionality that's within the mobile app, in addition to a bunch of other dashboards. So if we go to dashboards on the sales manager, checking in on things, again, you can expose dashboards to the mobile app. You can export generic inquiries or lists to the mobile app by just checking a box, and then it's going to be visible. So again, same thing you were seeing on the regular full device, except now we're in the mobile app. Again, it's all part of the same solution. So other things that Acumatica has, so when we're talking about that expense receipt, we also have on the payable side, incoming documents is what they call it. Anyways, I'm not sure I love the description, but anyways, it's basically documents that are coming in from outside, right? Vendors are sending us invoices. So these are invoices that, so if you have an email address like, accounts payable at calzone.com, and they're sending those invoices to accounts payable at email, Acumatica would be processing those incoming emails and penning them into this screen here, right? Then if I drill into it, you can actually see the invoice over here on the right. This is a PDF. It's got 2 line items. And then it gives you a status here saying it's been recognized. And if I click on different areas, it's saying, okay, the vendor ID, it picked it up somewhere around this. I'm going to highlight it. So here is the date, 10/3. It's highlighting the date, invoice number, total amount got from down here. And you can see here's the two line items, and it actually brings the line items onto it. So it's building out those distributions for me, right? And so it's able to kind of help speed up that process. So if I were to do a simple save and continue, if it couldn't recognize a vendor, you actually have the ability to search for a vendor. And with the AI technology they've built into this, it's going to start learning it. So that way the next time you don't have to go search for it again, as long as it's being consistent with what their invoices look like. And it's going to take that information and it's actually going to create the AP bill for them. So again, this could be done on a one-by-one basis. It could also be done on a scheduled automation basis where the system is just trying to recognize all those invoices and put them out here on hold as new invoices waiting for someone to review them and release them. Pretty cool. Lots of feature functionality. Again, lots of modules available. Again, I could say that anything that we can do in GP out of the base modules is already included in Acumatica's modules. And so in some cases, they just have taken it to another level as far as what you can do within those modules. So when we talk about finance and financial report writing, again, when you post to Acumatica, the journal transactions, you're going to see all those same details. So that way you're able to easily see that information. So here's the accounts payable, purchase expense. You actually see the distributions from those line details, right? That I had that invoice that I just processed. It's already here. I want to view the source document, drill back to the payables invoice. I just click the view source document and it's there. Again, if there were approvals required, you would see them here in the approval map and the assignments and who was approved and what the status is. So again, you have all of that. And again, journal entries, if I go to plus, you're going to see upload from Excel here, right? Load those. So you also have the ability to copy journal entries, create template journal entries. If you have one that's a payroll and you're going to do the same one every week for payroll, you can basically pre-populate as much of that journal entry as you want. You would click plus sign here and say, you would have an option here based on that save template to basically say payroll template, and everything that you save would automatically load up. So that way you could be able to quickly process that transaction. Financial statements, again, Acumatica's financial statement design and printing is all within the solution. We're not using management reporter or it's all real time. There's no synchronization of data. It's all real time. So if I go here, there's P&L rolling 12 months. And it looks just like the other reports that I was running earlier, except this is flexible by design. So it's using what most of us would know, which is our row sets and column sets, and they call them unit sets, which would be like our trees in Management Reporter. So you have that availability. So you can drill into these, and it's going to look very familiar, very easy for anybody that's doing Management Reporter to be able to do the same type of functionality. And again, you define how level of detail you want throughout these, and it's just summing up the different rows from the codes. Go back to that report. Again, you have the full ability to copy reports and create new ones, and then you just have to publish them to the user interface. So that way they're now, when you do, it becomes a new listing here on the reports list, right? So in addition to that 12-month, again, here's an example of a versus budget. And again, these are all drillable. So I click on that budget. Takes me to the budget ledger. So just like I have an actual ledger, this is the budget ledger where I'm able to process the budgets. And if I go back here and I go back to the actual numbers, I can drill all the way back to the accounts and the activity that makes up that given account, right? For the month of November, here's all the transactions. And the last financial statement I want to show you has to do with this P&L by product, right? So if you are focused on maybe a product line, I'll back this up to some better demo data. you can build these out so that we've got by product line, we've got consumer goods, electronics, food items, industrial, software. Again, you're able to actually have, so again, very flexible and able to be able to do a lot of things within this financial report writer. You can pretty much design any type of report that you need. And again, it's all within the application. So you're not really having to try and manage. And again, consolidations are very easy because you can build that and just select what units that it's using to be able to run those reports. Let's go back to the flows. So we talked about financial flow, right? So you can see financial reports are external systems. Again, all the things you would normally expect there. If you're focused on CRM and you need a CRM, again, it's fully functional. So you can start with leads. They're going to grow to opportunities. And these are all, again, actionable as well. So if I want to go to my leads, I can just click on that button and I can start a new lead or begin. The way that Acumatica works with its opportunities and CRM is that you would start with as little information as you have. Then you can basically build out a business account because they're not yet a customer that you want to work with or you're ready to work with yet. And then you can start quoting them. And once you start quoting them, that's when you can actually take that CRM quote, turn it into a sales order. It will also convert that into a customer automatically, putting it into you select which class you want to go to, and now you're off and running and you've got everything you need for that given customer to now be able to start transacting with them. Again, so the idea here is you have business accounts, and that business account could then also be extended to be a vendor in Acumatica's case. So it'd be now a common, so similar to GP's customer and vendor relations, except that they do it through a called a business account. So you can start as a business account and then it can grow into a customer and then it might also be extended as a vendor. So just interesting the way they do that. Again, it's all integrated, so very tightly integrated. So if you start as a lead and go through a quote opportunity to a quote and it turns into an order, when you're on the sales order, you can always drill back to that originating quote and opportunity. So if I was a sales manager, I might be focused again on my pipeline. Again, this is just dashboards that are loaded out of the box. And so when we're in here, if you want to use some of these legends and I want to say, okay, I don't need to look at Steve Church, he's doing great. I can start taking certain ones away and just be focusing on the other ones that maybe aren't doing so well and drill in. Again, all of this easily built in. These widgets are really simple to edit. So it's not really complicated stuff here. So if I were to click on this pencil and I have, again, security access, then it's going to load up the widget properties. Again, behind the scenes, this is just a generic inquiry, a list of data, and then you tell it how you want it to present. So you gave it a name, you give it some parameters, filter settings, based on what data do you want to show. If there's any filters, in this case, there's not. But again, you can just go in here and you're basically, this is really the amount of complicatedness or lack of complication to be able to create these dashboards, which really can help, again, be able to drive your business without having to have somebody spending a lot of time designing these, pushing this data out to Power BI, only to bring it back in to be able to display it here. Again, because it exists within the application, it's all clickable, drillable, all actionable to be real time. So distribution flow, again, full distribution modules. So you have the ability to even prepare replenishments where it's going to look at your demands. It's going to look at your current min maxes and it's going to recommend what you should purchase. You'll have default vendors. So again, that's all built into the distribution modules, purchase orders, sales orders, transfer orders. So for that two-step transfer process where you need to pick it and ship it to another warehouse, you could do that, shipping it from the main warehouse to the satellite warehouse. So you can do that hub and spoke model. Also, they also could be buying and purchasing and receiving it in. Again, the WMS module is available. So if you have a WMS module and you're using the mobile app. Warehouse management, you know, pick, pack, ship, receive and put away, scan and issue. Again, all the normal things that you would do, you know, physical counts, all of that's available on the mobile app. Again, it's all included as part of, as long as if you need what WMS, then you add that to your license and you're off and running. Just need some devices to be able to use with it. So again, idea here is to have as much flexibility as possible within all the modules. And if you're a service organization and you've got fields, techs in the field, and you need them to be able to, you can have, again, you can have support. So Cal, we use the support cases, right? If you send an email into support@calzone.com, it's going to create a case in our Acumatica. It's actually going to go, it's actually going to send a business event that says, okay, send out the account owner and the second and third resource that are most familiar with that customer, send them copies of the case to let them know that there's no case from that customer. And that way they can then connect, open up that case, accept it, and start working through that case with you. So we're actually leveraging that ourselves. And again, so with field service, you could use cases or not, depending on what type of organization you are, but you can have service orders. You can create purchase orders from those service orders. You can schedule appointments from that service order. It could be multiple appointments. Again, this can be tied to projects or contracts or not. So depending on what your needs are, again, it's very flexible in how you want to use that. And again, for people that are project focused, again, the project module integrates with the other modules as well. So you're not having to, you know, do any workarounds. It's going to present itself just like it did on that payables transaction throughout the system to be able to give you options and flexibility for that, to be able to record what you need and be able to build your projects. We, again, at Cal use projects, so we're quite familiar with it. Again, we've been using Acumatica now for quite a few years. Payroll, go back up here. Payroll flow, for anybody's interested, Acumatica has in the last 2 years added payroll as a module. And so, you know, they have full payroll functionality to be able to go through end to end. So you download the latest tax updates automatically. You know, you have reporting. Also, when we're talking about the mobile app, again, if I were an employee, maybe I don't actually use Acumatica in any other way, but I want to see my pay stubs, I can come in here and, nice, wish I was this guy. So here's my pay stub. And I can see all that information right on the mobile app, as well as if you, so just a lot of options. Yeah, I think it's important to see that all this is included in the application itself. So I did mention earlier user-defined fields, and we haven't really showed that yet. So Acumatica has something called attributes. If I just start typing, again, it's finding anything that includes it. So I'm going to go ahead and open my attributes screen. Again, many of our clients have lots of uses for these. It really becomes a question of what you need. So you can create any attribute. You can pre-typing text, a combo box, which is basically a drop-down list where you select the values from that list, right? So this is a multi-select, which I'll use in a second, where I can select multiple. And then we've got a combo box where I can select one of those, you know, just typing, again, combo box text. There's also the ability to have, you know, checkboxes or date time selector if you want to just save some dates that are specific to any particular records that you know don't have a standard field. And then the last one is called a selector, which is a little bit more involved, where you can actually have it look up other data in the system. So let's say they're vendor, and I want to say that this vendor belongs to, you know, John as kind of the owner of this vendor. I could do that through a selector. So here, this vendor, currently vendor record doesn't have a user defined fields, and I have some attributes out. I go to manage user defined fields. I say add user defined fields. I'm able to actually select. So here's my webinar. Go back. Again, it's just simple configuration. We're not having to add anything to the system. And now I could say, okay, this vendor is 1 and 3. right? So that's a multi-select. Again, I can add as many user-defined fields as I want. User-defined fields present up here. I could also use attributes if I wanted to, and attributes would present this way. So it really just, which way makes more sense for attributes are tied to the vendor class. So if I have, again, a product vendor, I might have very specific things related to, the products versus an expense vendor. And the attributes that I would then select over here might be a little bit different than the user-defined field, where it might be more global. So again, user-defined fields, you can add them in the screen. Well, now what do you do with that, right? Okay, well, I want, maybe it's a really important field to me as to know who the owner is, or in this case, my webinar demo field, right? So this is a generic inquiry. I'm gonna open this up real quick before we wrap up for any questions. And so I'm just going ahead and insert a new row, going from the vendor master, and I typed in, and there's my attribute webinar. Save it. Again, this is all secureable. Acumatic's got full security. You can go down to field level, screen level, very granular security, all role-based, so you can assign roles. In addition to having full security, you also have the ability to turn on audit trails. Again, wasn't an ISV that I mentioned with GP, but audit logs are fully available on any screen within the system. You decide what data you want audited, and then it's going to track all the changes. So I'll go back to this. So when I'm on a vendor record, audit history, all I got to do is if I have the security access to do so, I could hit enable field level audits, and then I pick which fields I want it to start auditing. So anytime someone changes them, I automatically have that. Now I can tell you that it doesn't slow down your system. I don't know how else to say it. There are other auditing solutions, other ERPs out there that have auditing solutions where, if you go to add that, so here's my webinar field that I just added. Move it up. Right. And so it's as simple as that. It's now part of the list. It looks like it was there the whole time, but really it's just configuration. Again, that's the idea of low code, no code. And with that, I will turn it over to see if we have any questions.
Thanks, John. We only have a couple minutes left, but we had a bunch of great questions come in. Stacy's been busy answering them in the Q&A box. There were a couple though that I thought everybody should hear. First one was, can Acumatica track serial numbers?
Absolutely.
Okay. Another one came in, does Acumatica have the capability to create a purchase order from a customer order and have them linked?
Yes. I take a sales order and I mark those lines to be issued to a purchase order. You just create the purchase order. There's actually a button on the sales order that says create purchase order, and it's going to generate that purchase order, keeping it all linked together.
Great. And then somebody was wondering if you can pull a P&L by project. And we know
Yes.
Steve answered yes, but do you happen to have one that you could show on the screen real quick before we wrap things up?
I do not have one.
Okay.
Queued up for that.
That's fair. But there's lots of P&Ls there and.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Lots of capabilities. Think of projects. Lots of project reporting. So you definitely have quite a bit here from the project side of things as well.
All right. We'll definitely take note of that one. Thank you, John. If there's any other questions that are coming in, we will follow up with you via email. So thank you for your time today, everybody.